What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Insurrection Inc. podcast. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Insurrection Inc., the first real episode in, 2-3 weeks we recorded one?
Yeah, it's been a while. We had people traveling. Stratty and I were at Mises U. Jay came for a couple
think
days.
I got kicked off back then.
You didn't get kicked off.
No, you just got promoted.
Yeah,
You were,
I got promoted.
You got-
promoted
you-
to listener.
Yeah, no, you got the title you wanted. You never wanted to be like a real host, so now you're
That's true.
You're a guest contributor. You're a friend of the show.
Peter is back on to record with us because we have skeleton crew today. Jay and I were the only ones available, so friend of the show, guest
Basically.
host Peter is rejoining us now.
Peter
For the
formerly
first
known as
time
the
in
host.
like a month.
Dude, it's the first time in like a month that we've recorded a real episode, so we've only been doing bonuses for the last. It's been a messy fucking month, and that's all I'm gonna say because I got no way to explain it. But anyway, today we got a juicy fucking topic. Secret police have marched into Portland, and are kidnapping people.
Yes, I sure do love living in the. Actually, I'm Canadian, but anyways, the United Socialist States of America. There we go.
Well, you're Polish, so this reminds you of home.
Yeah, pretty much. Poland, Russia, same thing.
It's even communist game picked up by the secret police. It really is reminiscent of the USSR.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get beaten up, left on the streets, and then there you go.
Well, no, that's where it differs from the USSR. They didn't let you go in the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
At least
that's
letting
true.
you go here.
Yeah, we have a more progressive police state.
Yeah, plus
Yeah, a
one,
little more progressive.
they just rough you up and drop you off in a random part of town. Okay, but no, let's talk about what has actually been happening, because using the term secret police has been a little hyperbolic. Technically, these people, we do know who they are, and we do know what their job is, and we do know why they were sent in there. So it's not like the KGB just came around in an unmarked black sedan and we're picking people up.
Yeah, basically, it's DHS federal cops.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, Department of Homeland Security, police, and like semi-military people have been basically sent into Portland to restore order. According to the Trump administration, at least.
Have you listened to the Free Man Beyond the Wall episode on this?
I actually haven't.
Okay, so he had a former Border and Customs Patrol agent. I forget what the actual name of the agency is, but he had a Borders and Customs agent who came on, who's an anarchist now, but he actually explained who these guys are down to what they actually do. So, yes, they work for DHS, but specifically they're called Vortec, and their task is picking up violent cartel members and drug kingpins from South America.
Huh. But
That sounds
now it
pretty
looks like they're
interesting.
arresting
So
people
they're
indiscriminately.
like some weird part of like border security, but not.
Yeah. And so these guys, they're not secret police because we know who they are, but since they're usually done for covert operations, they don't have markings on their uniforms. It's also not secret because they came in with military uniforms and rifles, so it's not just people that randomly got picked up by plainclothes agents. But this is a very ironic situation.
Yeah.
So I've
is.
seen two perspectives on this from libertarians. The first, well, I don't. There's not like an order to this, but I'll say one of them is that if we allow tyranny now, it'll eventually come for us. Like, so we should support the Portland protesters, even though they're leftists who disagree with us for the most part, because we should always be against, basically procedurally snatching of people by federal cops. And there are a few issues with that. I'll get to that in a minute. Then the other view is these are just leftists. They're getting what they asked for. They've always wanted this centralized, powerful government. And now they're getting it, and they're getting the wrong end of it. They didn't think it would come for them, and now it has.
But it
And
always does.
And honestly, I don't think these two are in that much conflict with each other. I haven't seen a whole lot of libertarians get this situation flat out wrong. Just different perspectives, right?
Yeah,
And
I haven't seen
also-
anybody who's wrong on it.
Yeah, one more quote I've seen going around is a quote from Patrick Henry, who says, "He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he
I
violates
think
this
I
duty,
shared that one
he
on
establishes a
Instagram
precedent
too.
that will eventually reach to himself."
And it's there's many levels of irony to this situation, but I think that this is, for once, really the first time where you have a large amount of libertarians saying, "Listen, we don't give a fuck. This is what you asked for. We've been warning about this forever. You lay in the bed that you made," which is normally not what a libertarian would go and say in a situation like this, because normally we're very used to the situation being, okay, this is just your average regular person who has been subject to police brutality. We're not going to question their ideology. We're not going to question what they voted for. That, this is wrong, and we're going to speak out against this. But I think, like we talked about in the cultural war episode, this is something, like, this situation is indicative of something bigger, that libertarians have taken a different stance this time.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is that I didn't even think about it that way. To compare it to the police brutality episodes of the past, where we've been like, yeah, okay, this person probably didn't have all the same political views as us, but it's never okay for cops to just, murder someone in the streets. So it is interesting that we're taking a different view this time. I guess because they're not straight up killing people. That's one
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be one thing. But I mean, also, like, look at Kent State, the Kent State massacre, where 4 college students were killed. I mean, those were hippy-dippy protesters. They were about as left as a hippie could go back then. This wasn't Rothbardians, like all 5 of them from the 1970s protesting at Kent State.
All 5
Yet,
of them.
Yeah,
hey, Walter Block will say it himself. There were like 5 Rothbardians back then.
maybe
So-
more.
He asked
It depends.
Rothbard one time how many libertarians there were in the world, and Rothbard said like 20. Something
Yeah.
like that.
So it's like, it was not a very big number back then. So this was not all 20 Rothbardians of the 1970s out protesting. These were hippies. And still, libertarians to this day will bring up like Kent State as to why we should not have a strong, overreaching government that comes down on shit like protests. But then I think because this comes off the heels of just, was it 2 months straight now of, wanton destruction of private property and a lot of innocent people getting harmed, and just really, like, I hate to say what Fox News is saying, but like a miniature civil war brewing in the country, that I think a lot of the more hardcore libertarians are very jaded about the people that have been coming out and protesting and what they claim to be doing versus what they're actually doing. I think there's a lot of jaded feelings that lead to the mentality of, you made your bed, now lay in it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And something else that I've seen as kind of a problem with that first perspective that I described is that especially with the Patrick Henry quote, where he says, you have to guard against oppression, even against your enemy, because then if you don't, that oppression will eventually come for you. I think that's people have been posting that to kind of dunk on the libertarians who haven't been taking it as seriously as they think they should. But I think that's a lesson for the leftists, not the libertarians. We've been saying that. We knew that.
Yeah.
It was the
like
leftists
I've
who
been
set
saying
that
that
precedent.
since I started it. And
Yeah.
it's like, eventually it's going to come for them, even though they have the power right now. It's slowly coming back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, and we've been saying that for everything. I mean, we say that for people that call for more police, people that like try to skirt the even if we're not constitutionalists, we use the Constitution to
support hate
argue.
speech laws.
Yeah, so we argue hey, when you have power in Congress, maybe you don't want to give yourself all this extra power that can be used against you when you don't have the majority anymore. So, like you said, we're always the ones that are saying hey, you don't want to give yourself all this extra power that could easily fall in someone else's hands.
Yeah, we told you power was a two-way street. And you've seen that happen with more examples too, like the Democratic Party in general, but anyone on even slightly to the left, they've hated decentralization and states' rights, which means not states have literal rights, but relative to the federal government, they retain certain powers, right? But they've hated that forever, at least since the Civil War, right? And then you've seen it turned on them since 2016, when the Trump administration says we're going to ignore whatever California says, and we're going to go enforce our immigration laws there anyway. And
Yeah.
California tries to argue from the perspective of states' rights. And we're like, we told you, and now it's not going to work because your own arguments are getting used against you. And
Yeah.
of course, snatching protesters off the street into unmarked vans is the most physical, most visceral example of that. But it's been a trend for a while of power being used against them when they made arguments for that power to exist in the first place.
Yeah. And I think something to clarify is that no matter where the libertarians have been talking about this land on it, none of them are saying that these guys should even exist. That there should be a secret fighting force for the DHS that goes into the jungle and picks out cartel members and kingpins, let alone that they should be operating on US soil picking people up. That has never been said by any libertarian that's worth their salt.
Yeah, exactly. We're all against it.
Yeah, we're against the existence of this. So if they're ones that are saying, no, we're not going to come defend you, they're also still not cheering on the existence or the action. They're just very jaded because in reality, all these leftists and communists and all that, they're going on Twitter and saying, where are the libertarians? Where are the libertarians? Well, did you guys want us to begin with? I mean, we've been here for a long time saying a lot of things. You've obviously been ignoring us. I mean, this is the point that Eric July has been making, that you've been ignoring us. You don't like our existence. You don't like us. And literally any other day, you want us lined up against the wall and shot in the gulag.
Yeah, every time we said something about states' rights, decentralization, decreasing federal power, it was shut up, libertarian. And now as soon as it's used against us,
where
are the
like,
libertarians?
we told you so.
Yeah, and it's like, what exactly do you want from the libertarians? Do you want our vocal support? Because that's still there and that's been there. You're just tuning us out. Or what? Do you want us, who tend to be one of the more heavily armed groups in the country, to come and start shooting at federal agents to bail you out? Because let me tell you, if you've been shitting on us for all this time and you are not our ally, you believe in the complete opposite of what we want, we're not going to come bail you out with bullets. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
We're not going to do it for you. We don't even do it for ourselves. So we're not doing it for you.
Which book is it by Lou Rockwell where the first sentence is, libertarians should never get tired of saying the words, I told you so?
I don't know. You need Stratty here for that one.
Yeah, I would need Stratty. He would.
Yeah, he's the one who reads Lou Rockwell all the time.
He'll tell you right away, oh, that's against the state. Page 4, published the 1972 edition. Whatever the code is for the books, like ISBN, whatever.
Yeah, the IDF or ISBN, whatever it's called.
I want to say it's left, right in the state, but I'm not entirely sure.
It sounds like it would be left, right in the state. Either that or against the state.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, at what point, what do you want from us at this point? Because I think after hearing out like the arguments and watching some Eric July videos on it and seeing people discuss it, I really do feel like it's at a point where you cannot defend them and still oppose the existence of this thing without being inconsistent. And say like, I told you so, this is what you get. You're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, and now there's one slight issue I'd take with this, which is that not all of the protesters or all of the people in Portland who could be or have been snatched up by federal agents are leftists or hated, libertarians' guts.
No, not all.
Wanted the centralization of power. And of course, it was largely the right, the Republican Party and stuff like that, that's been responsible for the militarization of police and the drug war and stuff like that. That's resulted in these agencies existing.
Not to defend the Republicans, but not just them. It really was a bipartisan effort. Joe Biden had a lot to do with this.
Yeah, both
That's a good
parties
point.
are basically full in
Although
support.
the people,
Both
a lot of the
parties
people
love
getting
military.
arrested right now would say Joe Biden is on the right, probably.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely would.
Yeah, they would.
I mean, to counter that point, there's a meme that Being Libertarian made a while back that got reposted recently that not all Black Lives Matter protesters are communists, but they've decided that communism is not a deal breaker.
That's exactly it.
So, it's not that guilt by association, but I mean, y'all sort of still are coming out into these destructive protests, destroying private property, assaulting innocent people for defending their property. So, I mean, you're in really murky waters.
And that meme was a reversal of what they've been saying about Trump supporters. Not all Trump supporters are racist, but they all decided racism wasn't a deal breaker. Which, regardless of whether you think that's true, it is funny to turn it back on them. Man, they're having a rough time with getting their own arguments turned back on them, aren't they?
Yeah, that happens like all the time.
Almost as if because they don't come from a place of first principles where they've logically assessed their ideology and reached a logical conclusion that is sound, and they just
the
go
whole
off
point of
emotional
leftism
talking
is
points.
moral. Like, leftism isn't logical half the time. It's
Well,
mostly
I
a
wouldn't
moral ideology.
I wouldn't say
based on,
moral
like, wage
either.
stealing.
I wouldn't say
mean,
that either because, like,
To us it isn't, but to them they could morally
because
argue for
I'd
it.
say
but
I'd say it's an
still,
emotional argument because morals
Yeah.
is not incompatible with logic, as the Austrians have
That's
proven.
true.
But yeah, I mean, like, is anybody here willing to, like, go out on Twitter and say, like, yeah, I stand with the communists getting arrested?
Miss
Yeah,
me
I don't
with
think
that.
anyone would. They would, like, we would maybe say, yeah, it's bad, well, whatever, they kind of supported it. That's my opinion. It's like, they're getting arrested, but they supported this. Oh,
Yeah, like,
well.
isn't that the meme he posted yesterday?
Yeah, basically, I had, like, a whole caption under it where it's like, yeah, it's bad that they're getting arrested, but, they wanted it. Something
And
like that.
I would like to point out, like, a little bit of hypocrisy here, where especially with, like, the more progressive libertarians that are like, no, we have to stand for the communists and we have to come out and defend them, because what if these were all far right protests where even if they're not all far right people themselves, they have no problem marching the same people that were, like, marching in Charlottesville and breaking store windows and doing all of that, and then the secret police of the state came around and was doing the same shit to them. How many libertarians would be saying, oh, we have to stand with these Nazis and Nazi adjacent people because that's what our morals say? Like, would the same people be going and saying we have to stand with them?
Yeah, it is easy to reverse the situation and have someone even more despicable in the eyes of the more progressive libertarians. Like, if there had been, unmarked police and tossing alt-right people at Charlottesville into unmarked vans, then of course they would be a little bit easier on the police. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's
I
even
mean,
more
I
ironic
would
because
still
it's
be
not.
laughing.
Yeah, I mean, the same logic applies if you're coming from a consistent libertarian standpoint, which is these alt-right people want centralized government, want them to take minorities off into camps or whatever, and now it's those same police that they asked for, especially considering that this is Department of Homeland Security that runs Border Patrol and stuff, strict immigration rules and all that, that's enforced by the same agency. It's even more ironic, And so when you're a consistent libertarian, you can apply that to groups on both the far left and the far right, the authoritarian versions of both of those, and come away with the same conclusions. If you stray from those principles and try to defend one more than they deserve, then you can see how that logic gets flipped against you really easily.
Yeah, because there's only two ways to be consistent about this. Either you would come out in defense of both sides, or you would say the same thing as you're saying for the communists, as you're saying for the other side. Like, sorry, you made your bed, lay in it. I don't care. I don't support the existence of this group, but you do, and now they're coming back to bite you in the ass. Like, those are the only two positions you can take that would be consistent. But I'm willing to bet all the money in my bank account right now that the progressive libertarians that are saying that we should defend these communists, like, go out and vehemently defend them, would not say the same thing if these were far-right people.
Didn't you just buy a car? You don't even have that much money in your bank account.
Yeah, you probably have like $600 like me.
No, I have less actually. I have more money in my Bitcoin wallet.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, okay. Plus, it's Canadian dollars I have, so you probably still have more than me.
Yeah. But still, like, that would still be a good, like, $300 bet. So, I mean, if somebody wants to take that, I will not actually take this bet because I need money. But fuck you, I know you're not going to be consistent. But yeah, it's such a weird and messy situation, and it's like this has just been such a weird last few months with so many divisions in every single camp in the country.
2020 is a weird year.
Yeah, I mean, look at the division from those two JoJo tweets, which were butt fuck retarded. But I mean, like, just look at that shit.
I mean, let's talk about I get what you're saying. I just really don't know how to add on to that. So I think you pretty much summed it up. So let's move on a little bit. Let's think about the path going forward from here. How does this end? I mean, do the federal cops leave eventually? We don't even know anything about the people getting arrested. Like, where are they going? Where are they taking them? Are they getting put on federal charges for, I don't know, disturbing the peace, whatever the federal equivalent of that is?
Didn't Trump say that, didn't Trump pass the Insurrection Act or utilize the Insurrection Act?
I think he threatened it. I don't think it was ever ever activated or whatever.
If Antifa gets labeled domestic terrorist, then they got a one-way ticket to Cuba.
Oh, I didn't think about that, dude. If they pick up Antifa people who are now labeled as a terrorist organization, then they really are in trouble. And of course, libertarians shouldn't support that either, in my opinion. We can point out
how do you even make it a terrorist group? Because a lot of leftists say it's not even an actual organization. So if they actually make it a terrorist group, that shows a really bad precedent. Because maybe Trump can make Boogaloo Boys a terrorist group. Or
well, they are.
Yeah, they're trying to.
Yeah, the FBI is working on that right now. Yeah.
The problem is the Boogaloo Boys, for the most part, would say neither of them should be labeled a terrorist group, not even Antifa. Yeah. Whereas Antifa would be like, yeah, sure, get the racists, but...
yeah, not us or something.
Almost as if the leftists are not consistent and are just petulant, overgrown children.
I'm noticing a theme here.
Maybe they don't actually want freedom. Maybe they just want, I don't know, just to end capitalism without freedom.
Well, I mean, hey, if you listen to the organizers for the Black Lives Matter organization, the trained Marxists that sound like fucking Stalinists when they give a speech, then yeah, I don't have hope for these people, and I sure as hell don't agree with libertarians who want to ally with them.
Yeah, I had a couple thoughts about being with them, but it's like, nah, they suck.
It goes back to the great Ludwig von Mises quote, and I've been at Mises U for a week, so I saw it literally everywhere. I have a poster that says it now, but it's every socialist is a disguised dictator.
I would want one of those, actually, a poster.
I have one that says it in Spanish. It's pretty cool.
In Spanish too.
Yeah. Apparently, Mises.org/es has been popping lately.
Yeah.
That's the Spanish version of the site. They've been having a lot of traffic, according to people who run the site, which is really good.
South America, I'm telling you, man, it might be the move to go to Brazil or something.
Dude,
yeah, actually,
really.
I know so many Brazilian libertarians. I know like 5 of them now.
There was a Brazilian at Mises U. He's a Parabilan's graduate student getting his PhD at Oklahoma State.
Peter,
really cool.
I told you, like, that day I made that Brazilian versus libertarian girl meme on Twitter. The Brazilian supermodel or Instagram model I used in it retweeted my meme, and there's still Brazilians that like it like every day.
Oh boy, that's funny.
Also, can we mention while we're at it, the talking about things we don't necessarily support, but we can, laugh at it occasionally. What's the president's name? Jair Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil. He said he like kind of brushed off the coronavirus in the early months. Then he tested positive for it. Actually had it. Then they asked him what his thoughts were on masks after he recovered from it, and he answered, "Masks are for pussies."
I mean, they are though. It's like wearing what's it called, a gag or whatever for bondage and BDSM. Masks are gay and they're for pussies.
Now, Bolsonaro's kind of an authoritarian dictator. Like,
kind of.
Yeah,
kind of.
But man, he's funny sometimes.
No, you know what he is? He's like budget Pinochet. He's not as cool. He's just a knockoff version of him.
Yeah, that's exactly what
he'll be cool once he starts throwing the commies out of helicopters. Then he gets a pass.
No, Jay, we can't support state violence against the mentally ill.
Pass.
Isn't this the show where I've talked about beating up retarded children?
Yes. That was the early episodes. We don't talk about those anymore.
No, I can't believe people still go back, because I looked at the numbers for those two and those still went up. I'm surprised.
Wow.
Like, how did anybody go back to those early episodes and be like, yeah, I want to keep listening to the newer ones?
Yeah, the earlier ones were funny.
Trust the process.
QAnon has been working on our show.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm actually QAnon.
I knew it. Peter is a Fed.
Yes, I am.
Pe-
The
Peter's gonna go
FBI
to
will be
Portland
at
on
your door.
vacation.
Where the fuck were we?
I don't know, dude. Oh, I know. How does it go forward from here? How do we end?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if they're domestic terrorists, they're going to Gitmo. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter, and I shouldn't laugh at that, but I am. These spoiled 20-year-olds from like rich colleges that throw a brick at a window are going to Gitmo.
It is a
You're
horrible
like
thought.
end up in like some like maximum security prison in the middle of nowhere. Oh boy.
They're gonna learn. They're gonna learn how good Islam is from Amir bin Muhammad in a Gitmo Bay. They're gonna be.
I was
his
about to
little
make a
prison.
joke, but then I realized they stopped that. I was gonna say, and they're gonna have to listen to Nine Cat for like 5 hours a day.
Yeah, they rolled.
But they're not doing that anymore.
Well,
Good
no,
thing
actually,
Obama shut down Guantanamo Bay just like he promised.
Haha.
well, no,
That didn't
they rolled
happen.
back a lot of the torture programs in there because they moved them to different black sites.
And
There were
now-
too many eyes on Gitmo.
Yeah, so they had to move them to Alaska, maybe some in like U.S. occupied Siberia. Who knows?
No, it can't be on U.S. territory. That's why before Gitmo they were being extradited to Egypt, where it was actually an upgrade to go from Gitmo to Egypt because in Egypt they were far more cruel.
So maybe it actually makes sense that they're doing it in Siberia. Who knows? Just to contract it out to the Russians. They know a bit of stuff from the USSR. They could probably get some good torture in.
I mean, wherever
Feels
it
so
is,
bad
you know they're
saying
still
that.
doing it somewhere because Gina Haspel is the director of the CIA now.
Yep.
We have the extremely progressive Trump administration has its first female torturer in chief. So
It really makes you feel like you're part of history.
Yeah.
at least Antifa will know. At least they'll feel better that it's a woman in charge of them being
Yeah.
detained
Well, no, because
unlawfully.
when they finally get out of Gitmo, they're going to be like, see, I told you the USSR was better. But no, I mean, where do we go from here? It's impossible to tell because, I mean, who thought these protests were even going to go on for 2 months straight?
That's a good point. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't even
been
feel
like
like
50
2 months,
straight
but it
nights in
actually has
Seattle and
been.
Portland of
Yeah.
protests. Yeah.
And it's like, sure, Chop went away because they all started starving and wanted to go home.
They also killed a few people.
Yeah, they did. And then there was a Chop in Brooklyn, which lasted even less. It was like a week.
I
So
forgot
it's-
about that. They tried
Yeah.
to start one in like North Carolina somewhere, and it lasted. Like
I didn't
8
even know
hours.
it happened.
Of course they did, because North Carolina is just New York Junior.
Yeah, now they
Yeah.
have. I don't know if the police have moved into this yet. They had at least for a few days. I have no idea. I haven't seen any updates on it. But they had the Clat in Portland, which was Chinook land.
clap?
Chinook land autonomous territory. It sounds like it sounds like it's sexual, and it's not. It's just a
Yeah,
made up
when
word.
are we going to get the clit?
Yeah, if someone said that amuses you. Someone will come up with it.
The Colorado Indigenous.
You're missing the L. Anyway, please
Oh,
don't try and come
fuck.
up with acronyms that fit the word clit on the show. How about challenge to listeners? If you come up with something that sounds funny that matches the word clit, we'll read it off on air next episode.
Oh
Send it to any of
boy.
us on social media.
The challenge listeners' indigenous territory.
There we go. That's a good
Never
one.
mind, Jay wins. The challenge listeners indigenous territory. We're gonna set it up right next to Waffle House's stand.
Yes. How's Waffle House's stand going? And any
There's-
new developments?
Yeah, one of our chefs got shot.
Oh, nice. Sounds like how you would work in Domino's Pizza Venezuela.
But listen, I mean, where do we go forward from here? Obviously, I mean, Vortec coming into the United States, that's a precedent that's not going to go away now. Now the federal government, whenever there's too many dissidents going on for too long, they can go and they can send in special ops groups to go pick people up off the street. Which, I mean, we're living in a country where we once threw people in concentration camps, so I don't know where the fuck the president actually is.
That's a good point. That's the crazy thing is, for as wild as 2020 has been, we've been here before.
Several times.
all of this stuff has happened before, if not all at once. That's what makes it crazier. So it's unprecedented in that sense, but like it's all happened.
Yeah, this year it's just like a total combination of everything. You tossed every single authoritarian regime in a blender, and that's America 2020.
I mean, it is. Ulysses S. Grant kicked all of the Jews out of like the border states of the South.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but he was on the right side, quote unquote. So we just sweep that under the rug.
Yeah, Ulysses S. Grant. He was like, no, these Jewish merchants that are living in like Tennessee and shit, and they're living on the border of Kentucky and Tennessee. They're doing too much trade with the Southerners. They are a risk to the national security. We got to kick them out. So that is why there are no Jews in that area to this day. And they're all in like Jew York and shit.
Well, that produced Rothbard, so maybe it was worth it.
Yeah, but Rothbard could have been from like Nashville.
But then he wouldn't have gone to NYU and studied under von Mises.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
guess that
then
makes
what
sense.
if von Mises, instead of moving to NYU, would have moved to like New Orleans?
I don't know. That sounds
think
like
about
some
it this
weird
way. If we didn't
alternative
have
history.
anti-Semitism, Mises would never have even left Austria. He fled the Nazis in 1940.
Hitler was really a great person for the movement of liberty.
I was about
Yeah.
to say, I should stop before I make the libertarian case for Nazi Germany on accident.
Oh no.
On accident?
On accident?
Yeah, on accident.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
In Minecraft.
Big quotations on allegedly, and also on accident.
We cannot stay on topic of how we move forward from, because it's like there's no way to tell how the fuck we're gonna move forward from here.
Yeah, we're
honestly,
not
it's kind of a dumb
psychics.
question. There's no way to know.
Yeah,
We're
everything.
just along for the ride.
Yeah. Everything 2020, where the fuck do we go forward from here? Now there's a precedent that you can lock people in their houses and tell them what to wear and like track them if they've been in contact with anyone infected. Where do we go from there? Where do we go from like literally anything that has happened this year? I mean, remember January when a war with Iran was the biggest news?
And then there's North Korea as well, and then now it's all of this shit for the
That
past
was
like 6 months.
January. It's July. Like the foreign policy feels like it was a million years ago we cared about that.
Yeah, like literally no one's been talking about foreign policy because there's no point.
It's, you know, we're like Boris said, we're along for the ride. Just grab a fucking beer and watch as society collapses because 2020 was the year that the empire died.
Or at least started to die. Empires don't die that fast. It might be like the Roman Empire where there was like a big plague and then slowly it all started going downhill and then like 20 years later everything was collapsing.
Shit, man, I don't know. I mean, look, we're going right down that path. I mean, Rome had
20
had
years?
that
I might be
plague.
wrong with that date.
I don't know, but Rome had the plague. They had financial ruin. Their military was in too many fucking places. There were a bunch of people trying to immigrate. We're in the same place. I'm not anti-immigration for anybody listening to the show. I feel like I have to put that out there. But man, where the fuck did Porter go?
I think he probably had to mute himself,
we're-
but he's
we're
not
at-
in the same spot as me.
We're at
I'm back.
33
I'm
minutes,
good.
Porter. 33 minutes.
Ah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we don't have much else to say about this shit. We're at a loss for
Yeah,
words. This is fucking
This is a bit
weird.
more a quick one.
I hate 2020. It's like I just want to take a nap and not wake up until January 1st, 2021.
Yeah, I know, this year
you poor
is like
innocent
just
soul.
garbage.
You think it's gonna get better?
It's not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse.
I really feel like we're hitting rock bottom real quick.
We're not gonna hit rock bottom. It looks like rock bottom, but then the floor is gonna collapse, and then it'll be another one.
Well, we've got to be close to rock bottom because we had Peter back on the show.
Maybe, yeah. No,
It's
you're
rock
just
bottom.
running out of ideas.
We really are. I'm
So,
ready to have
I
ideas for my main page.
Yeah, me too. I think this is a pretty good place to close. I'm gonna end by just reading out the last paragraph of a piece called "About Those Spooky Federal Cops in Portland" by Jeff Deist, the president of the Mises Institute. We can link that in the show notes page. It's worth reading the whole thing, but I'm just going to read out the last paragraph because it basically sums up everything we talked about and the attitude I think libertarians should have about this whole situation. All right, quote, Constitutionally, there are only 3 federal crimes: treason, piracy, and counterfeiting. No standing federal police agencies or apparatus are required to enforce these. In fact, the latter appears to be the express policy of our central bank. There should not be federal agents, overt or covert, in Portland. The riots taking place there are criminal matters for local authorities and local authorities alone. If residents and local politicians prefer to give the mob freedom to run amok over both public, taxpayer, and private property, while also threatening the physical safety of ordinary citizens, Uncle Sam has nothing to say about it. But the same people who demanded endless growth in the federal police and regulatory state ought to be more circumspect today. A cynic might call them hypocrites. I think we'll end with that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a good quote to end off.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
I mean, here's where we wrap up. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you're on iTunes, give us 5 stars and leave a review. That really helps the show. What?
Also, check out the Cotton Report by our friend Cotton Archist. It's cottonreport.com. The website's up and coming.
Yeah, a few of us are
several
writers
hosts
on
have
there.
contributed to it. So, yeah.
If you're on YouTube, for whatever god-awful reason, I don't know who of you listens to this on YouTube. I hate you. I hate that you make me make a YouTube version, but I love you. Leave a like, leave a comment. Share the show with any of your autistic friends who might like this bullshit. I don't know why, but they might. Join our Discord. No, I put that in a bumper already. I don't know. What the fuck else? Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on MySpace.
And we'll see you next time.
Excuse me? MySpace? See ya.
Oh, God. I should have had the fucking...